Well, we turn our attention to the education front, and this afternoon the Education Minister is locked up in a crunch meeting with leaders of the University Teachers Association of Ghana. It comes as the association threatened to withdraw its services nationwide starting Friday, October 8, 2021, over government's failure to reach an agreement with them. So last month, we all recall, UTAG was in a mandatory 30-day negotiation over its demand for $2,084 for entry-level lecturers. But the association says despite backing down on some of their demands and government pledging its commitment to addressing their concerns, nothing tangible has been achieved yet. In a circular cited by JoyNews, UTAG President, that's the new one, Professor Samuel Nunu, directed members to resume their suspended action coming Friday. On your screens now is a copy of that memo. And it tells you the number, and it says the third update on the suspension of the withdrawal of teaching and related activities, which is dated 22nd September. So that's the memo there on the screen, and it ends by saying it is sad to report that the 1 month moratorium has elapsed and the negotiation has almost reached a stalemate. So that's the situation with UTAG, and that's circular to its members. So all members are hereby directed to observe this directive and act accordingly. We all know how it ended the first time when UTAG went or embarked on that action, and they had to return to the classrooms, but it appears that nothing much has been done. As we speak, together with all the stakeholders, they are currently locked up in a meeting to look at the way forward, whether indeed government will give them what they are demanding, but is yet to be seen. But we can hear from the UTAG president, Professor Nunu, speaking to us earlier.
Any concessions would make will be, the only caveat would be the employer shifting its position. Because with the employer being at the same point, then they are trying to say it's either take it or leave it. So we are of the firm belief that once the employer shifts and we say that now they are at the table and ready to bargain with good faith, then it becomes easier for you to work with us. But without that, it's impossible for us to make any concessions at this point.
You say the employer has done nothing in that respect in the 1 month period, and you speak about good faith. Is that to say that your employer has been acting in bad faith up to this point?
Yes, that's the position of UTAG. We believe the employer has acted in bad faith throughout that period, and that is the position and improve on their offer. Because without doing that, then it means we have reached, and everything makes it possible for us to then go on a strike as we have indicated.
Right. Now you've given Friday the 8th as a deadline, and if no agreement is reached by then, you're going to strike. Are you optimistic there's going to be any action before then, Prof?
As we speak, I'm on my way to Accra. They've invited us for a meeting. So all over the country, UTAG executives, the leaders who are members of the negotiation team, are on their way coming to the table for us to talk. So I'm of the firm belief that if they shift position, I don't think they're not ready to talk. But if they shift position and they bring out something that is reasonable and good enough, then it will be good for us to make progress. Remember, the statement mainly focused on them shifting position. And once they shift position and it's reasonable for us, then definitely everything will come.
Let's bring in the UTAG Legon president, Dr. Samuel Nkumban, joining us with details. We are told that that meeting is currently underway between all the stakeholders, all sides in this particular matter. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Samuel Nkumban. So let's first talk about this particular meeting following that memo for all your members to embark on a strike on the 8th of October, which is supposed to be on Friday or so. Well, what's the situation now? You're in a meeting with government on this particular matter. This is not the first time you've been locked up in such a meeting. Are we hopeful that anything good will come out of it?
Well, in the case that UTAG as a body is unhappy with the current situation, it's not as though UTAG is happy to be on strike. Reality is that UTAG is unhappy with our conditions of service, and that is the bottom line. And so it was expected that with the notification to government, we would be called to this meeting. And certainly it's our expectation that there would be new office. Literally what happened before this notice had to come out was that the position of government at the time of the suspension of the strike didn't change even after the expiration of the deadline that was given, the 1 month period that was given. And so government, on the basis of quote-unquote inability to pay, did not shift the goalpost by way of indicating anything new. And so it's our expectation that in today's engagement, there would be some move on the side of government towards the demands of UTAG that members would have to be considering.
Well, so it's almost like a cycle, which we all know the script at this point. UTAG, declares its intention to embark on a strike. Government calls you back to the table. Within this 1 month period, what would you say has been happening such that your demands have not been met even halfway?
And so that is the challenge UTAG faces, because the reason for which we are where we are is government's inability to pay mantra that is being sung. And for government to ask for an extension for 1 month, we are not too sure what would have changed the fortunes of our economy, that they would be able to meet us with the demand they say they are unable to afford because of economic circumstances of our country. And so for us, the up and down is not a helpful exercise. And so the expectation today would be that at least government would give us a good enough reason to have called us to Accra to have this conversation. And so that at the end of the day, the notice to go on strike on Friday, we don't get there. Because it's not a case that UTAG is happy to be on strike. Point is that we have a responsibility to our country and we are willing to do so, but we cannot do so under the conditions in which we find ourselves working. And that is the bottom line. So we are hopeful and expecting that something more reasonable and positive would emerge as we engage with government in this afternoon's meeting.
Well, but in this afternoon's meeting, at least from previous, we followed everything. We've been talking about it. You're asking for that 2,084 for entry-level lecturers. Does it seem probable that you're going to get it today?
Well, we've been moving down by way of proposition. And so as of the last time we engaged, we certainly note that that is the place we would want to be. But if it is not possible immediately, then, of course, there should be some form of a roadmap that does not allow for us on an annual basis to be coming back to this table. And so you would recall that in the 2003-2004 year, there was a roadmap that led to the attainment of $1,500 entry points for lecturers. And the expectation is that something meaningful to start with as we gravitate towards the possibility of attaining where we rightfully should be. And also particularly that government has a responsibility to do a labor market survey that would give us some leverage as to the market premium levels that UTAG members should be enjoying, which is yet to be done. And it is our hope that that has to also be done in good time for us to look at other aspects that are hinged on that labor market survey.
But there are those who say that as leadership of UTAG, you know very well, deep down somewhere, that what you are asking for, you would not get. But it's a face-saving measure for your members to know that you're indeed fighting for them. Did I lose Dr. Nkumban? It appears that we've just lost Dr. Samuel Nkumban there, a UTAG Legon president there, speaking to us about their hope going into that meeting that is currently underway between government. We know that all the sides, the Employment and Labour Relations Ministry, the Education Ministry, we know that the NLC, the Labour Commission, is also at some point has been involved in this, and they are currently meeting to ensure that they get what they are demanding. So Dr. Nkumban, we apologize, we lost you along the line. So I was asking or saying earlier that there are those who say that leadership of UTAG at the various levels know that what you're asking for at the time you're asking, you know you would not get. But it's more like a face-saving measure to let your members know that you're indeed fighting the cause all the way.
Well, our members are very much aware that we've been at this for not today. We've started this conversation since the year 2017. And so for anybody to think that it is a face-saving exercise at this time of the the year is inaccurate. The document which we are engaging today was submitted to government in 2019 and not today. And so for us, it's been rather the feet dragging of government that has led us all the way until today. And so it is not the case that UTAG leadership is aware and knows that we will not get what we are asking for this time around, and that is when we are engaging this as a measure to save anybody's face. Reality is that if there is any blame to be thrown at, then of course it is not rather to UTAG leadership and UTAG, because our request to engage in these conversations started in the year 2019.
So as parents and students, should we keep hope alive that UTAG will not withdraw its services come 8th of October?
It's our prayer that we get something that is meaningful for us not to get back there. Unfortunately, if that is not the case, of course, as was very expressly stated in the suspension of the strike, then of course we would have no option but to do the obvious, which is resume the industrial action, unfortunately.
But in your interaction, though, do you get the indication that those who are supposed to give you what you're asking for are really committed to the cause?
Well, of course, the point is that the people who matter in this conversation on the side of government are all present at this meeting. The Minister of Employment, the Minister of Education, the Deputy Minister of Finance, JTEC, and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission are all here. And so the expectation, of course, would be that they may have consulted before coming to meet us, just as we have also consulted with our general memberships and did not agree with what government initially offered. And so we would listen to and hope that we get something that is sufficiently reasonable and members can work with whilst we engage with the outstanding matters that also hinge on our conditions of service.
Okay, knocking on wood and hoping that we don't get to what we saw previously. Previously was weeks and weeks of you being on strike. If you don't get what you want today and you have to embark on the strike, how serious will this one be from the previous?
Well, it has always been the case that withdrawal of teaching and related services border on a number of things. Some of the institutions are done with the academic year. They are yet to conclude with a subject of having to grade and to upload results and also to process examinations for students, graduations, and stuff like that. Invigilation of master's dissertations and all of that are teaching-related activities that are ongoing. And so certainly that would be an alternate effect just in case that no institution is engaged with teaching at this time. But certainly the other related teaching activities will not happen until such time that the conditions we are asking for are met. Or
okay.
that at least government needs us at some point that is acceptable.
Okay. Dr. Nkumban, I'll leave you to go back to the meeting, and as and when that meeting concludes, hoping that you get what you want, then we would avert a strike on the 8th of October. We'll get back to you again on this. That's Dr. Samuel Nkumban, is the UTAG Legon president, also part of that meeting currently underway, and you've heard him outline the stakeholders who are in that meeting. We have the Deputy Minister of Finance in that meeting, Education Minister. We have the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission also in that meeting, Employment and Labour Relations Minister, as well as the UTAG leadership. Hopefully, we'll get what UTAG wants, and we avert a strike on the 8th of October. This is The Pulse. We'll take a quick break. Be right back.